Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your girls, RA and Jaquita. And you are about to jump into a very, very special episode. It is so good that we had to split it into two parts. So you are about to hear part one of this, and you're gonna hear it. We're gonna cut it off, and then you're gonna have to catch part two next week. But it is an episode called Home for the Holidays, and we think you're gonna really enjoy it. So this is part one. Y'all enjoy part one, and we'll see y'all for part two. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the UnLearnT podcast. I am your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA.
What's up, friends? It's your girl, Jaquita.
And this is the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that you can experience more freedom. And it's a good day. It's a good day.
It's a good day, friends.
It's a good
It's a
day.
good day.
Crisp. You know what I'm saying? It's nice and chilly outside. It's my favorite time of year. As you can see, we're
Actually,
just all.
no.
What?
It
What?
was
What you
not
mean?
nice and chilly outside. Not
Oh,
in
I'm
South
sorry.
Carolina.
For real?
Girl. No, we was
Really?
burning up in church.
Seriously?
Burning up. Burning up. I
What was
mean,
it?
it's still cold, but it was like in the 60s.
Ew. I hate that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that. It was like 40s
Yeah.
today, like here in the Tennessee. Yeah, I like it cold when it's supposed to be cold. You know, it's like
This
I like.
cold threw us all off because we went from being like consistently in the 60s and then it hit us with a boom, 32 high of 32. And we were like, absolutely not.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Absolutely. I had to go buy some chapstick because I was
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
it was about to be dire circumstances out here.
Understood. I understand that. I do
Mhm.
understand that. Be that as it may, it is December. You see, we're dressed all festive like. Okay.
Because it's
See,
Christmas time, y'all.
because it's
Let me tell you
Christmas
something.
time.
My decoration's been up since November 1st.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, don't play with your girl. My
You're one of
house is
those
looking
people.
real festive. It's a real winter wonderland around here. Okay.
Let me just tell you something. I am against people. You know what's that trend? We listen and we don't judge. We listen and we don't judge. I am so annoyed by people who decorate before Thanksgiving.
First of all, y'all, if you knew what Ruth Abigail considered decorating,
Listen.
okay, for Christmas, Ruth Abigail got her first Christmas tree in her house like last year, and she sent us a picture. And I said, I'm sorry,
Pause.
you mean that 3-foot tree?
Hey, listen. Grow up with decorations, okay? I didn't grow up with all of
Doesn't
that.
matter. Doesn't
I
matter.
don't do that.
Either do it or
Whatever.
don't. But don't come down on those of us who choose to do it.
I didn't say don't do it. I said the timing bothers me.
Whatever.
It does. But it is now right. It's the right time. Like, I think December is appropriate, and we're very excited about Christmas. We're in our festive gear. And before we jump in, we just like to first of all say thank you. We want to say thank you for
Man.
listening to us all year, guys. Like, it's been almost a year, and we have really enjoyed spending this time with you. And as always, we're going to ask that you continue to like, share, comment, subscribe. We have, you all have been sharing it, so thank you. So continue to share it. Let us know what you're thinking. We've really enjoyed conversing with you guys and like really like engaging the audience and building a community of unlearners, because that's what we are. We're growing, and we're excited about that. So thank you for that. And let's keep moving, guys. Let's keep moving. So if you know anybody who you think this podcast be a blessing to, share it with them. And let them know and just make them a part of the community. So continue to do that. And for this episode, I think it's going to be really special, really powerful. I think kind of transparent, as was our last one. And so
no, we weren't. Our sisters came in, y'all, and bulldozed.
they did.
Like,
They did.
What?
They did.
What? If you haven't watched that one, if you haven't watched the sister episode, please go back and check that one out.
Check it out, because it's definitely worth checking out. They kind of put us on blast quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so this one, that one's great. This one's gonna be good. So be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment, guys. So it's the holiday season, and it being the holiday season. I love the holiday season. I mean, I think it's a time of just, rest, relaxation. You get to kind of shut down a little bit. You get to have some
Mhm.
fun. Holiday season is good. But the reality is the holiday season is not all good all the time. Like
Mhm.
the holiday season can also conjure up some different kind of feelings. Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that all these holidays fall at the end of the year, right? Like when
Mhm.
we think about like, happy holidays, it's all, Thanksgiving, Christmas, for those of you who may celebrate other things, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all of the things, and New Year's. Like all of that is at the end of the year. And so by the time you get to those seasons, you really are in like a state of like reflection and like, wait a minute, what happened this year?
Yeah.
I saw an Instagram post today that said 2024 has been so long we forgot that we started at the beginning of the year with the Olympics.
Oh no.
Like, yeah, it was
Huh.
like, oh,
Dang.
all of that happened. Like so
Wow.
much has
Yeah.
happened, you know, throughout the year that
Mm.
it's been such a I feel like 2024 was a very packed year. Like it was so much that like we had to like move forward from whatever happened, from whatever thing we endured. It's like, okay, that has to stay in that month because I got to move on. This new month
Right.
has a
Right.
lot to it and I don't have
Right.
time to reflect. But I
Right.
think that the end of the year always brings back that time of reflection and just, you know, really sitting with something.
And so in the spirit of reflection, what we want to talk about. So when we were kind of planning this episode, we started to kind of think about what the term home for the holidays meant. Like what does it mean to be home for the holidays? And so Quita, like what does it mean like literally, like very literally what does home for the holidays look like for you?
I think I the first thing I think about when I think about home for the holidays, I think about how home means so many, like in the physical sense, it means so many different places for me, as a
Mhm.
middle adult, like when I say I'm going home, I'm coming to this house that I
Mm.
paid a mortgage on,
Mhm. Mm.
and that home for
There you
me
go.
is a place that I am, very much in control of. I set the pace. I'm building this life for
Mm.
myself and I'm deciding what that life looks like, and I'm trying to constantly thinking about like what my future is going to be and what things I want to add to the life that I've been building. But then there's this other home, which is like your home of origin, which is like where
Mm.
you during the holiday season you're going back and you're being amongst the people that like you grew up with, like your parents, your siblings,
Mhm.
now there's more people, there's nieces and nephews and
Right.
more cousins and more family members, and there is a sense of bringing you back to a place of just remembrance and
Mm.
nostalgia and reflection,
Mm.
and it's kind of like your two worlds kind of like meeting together, like like
Yeah.
it's like this life that I'm building and this place that I'm trying to get myself to meeting with the life that I came from and was birthed from, and it always brings about this sense of, okay, am I still headed in the direction that I had hoped to be heading from? Did I take everything from this home of origin that I wanted to keep? Have I started throwing out the stuff that needs to be thrown out? Am I building into the person that I had hoped for? And so I think that that's
Mm.
why a lot of times during the holiday season, people get, they call it like seasonal depression. But I also
Mhm.
think that a part of it is like these worlds colliding because it
Yeah.
really is kind of like a meeting of the past and the present where, for some of us who have, lost loved ones, it's remembering, there's so much remembrance that happens during the holiday season and remembering what life was and having to figure out what life is now and how I'm going to move forward. And I think that it's just a really, really great time to do some of that really, really deep reflective work.
I love how you said it's kind of a meeting of the past and the present because there were so many years as a young adult where my past and my present looked so similar, and it was so
Mm.
frustrating.
Mm.
And it was
Whoa.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And so
Mhm.
you're used to your present, and then whenever you get in the midst of people that you don't see on a regular basis, they ask you, so what have you been up to? Right? What's life look like now? What is, and it's like it looked like the way it would last time I talked to you. Like
Mhm.
like there's nothing different. And I remember for years, like not all my, I'm gonna say all, for a lot of my young adult years, I didn't like answering that question. Um,
Mhm.
it was really it was very disheartening a lot of times, because I really,
Mhm.
it was like, man, like I would love to have a different narrative, but I don't. And
Mhm.
and I don't know what to do about that, right? And so I think that might be like how a lot of people feel right now, right? During this season.
Mhm.
It's like things, your life feels like, even though it's not, I mean, there are absolutely things you can pinpoint that are different, but it's not just different, it's the different that matters to other people, right? Let's be
Mhm.
honest, right? Everybody doesn't care about your job unless it's a big jump, right? Let's just be real, right? They don't necessarily care about the
First of
win
all,
you
I
had.
I can't
That they don't, it's
explain to
like, no,
people what I do.
right.
You
I
know,
mean,
they don't
really,
even
you know what I'm
understand.
saying? They don't
They
even
like,
really get
You
it,
a
right?
professor, right?" And I'm like,
Right. No.
no, no."
Like it's very, it's like, okay, well, no, I mean, I did have a good year, but I didn't necessarily make any more money. I didn't get a new job title. I didn't do anything super cool, but it was a good year. And it's like, oh, that's not very interesting. Nobody really cares unless it's a big deal. Nobody, they care about that. And of course, the whole relationship thing. Let's be honest, we've all been there. We've all been there,
Oh,
where
gee.
you walk into, let's be, people care about your relationship life. And that's,
Listen,
they say it real subtly. So it's always this, so it's like,
mm,
ugh,
here's my mama. Any prospects? Any pro any prospects? And I can always see when she winding up to it, because she start looking at me, and then she be like, "So you got any prospects?" So finally I asked her, "You got any prospects?" "Huh? You ask me, Imma ask you." All right,
clap
we
back.
gonna stop this. We gonna
Yeah.
stop this foolishness. I told you when I got something to tell you, Imma tell you about it. All right? I'll let you know when I need to let you know if
There
there's
you go.
somebody that I need to let you know about. But currently, no. Oh my goodness. And I also think, here's a reality. Here's the reality. We're gonna jump straight into it, right? Let's just get down to it.
Let's
I
do it.
think for me, single woman, a birthday in 3 days, I say it. We about to hit that. Now we're about to be officially late 30s.
No, you're
No
already there,
more,
boo. You're
now,
already there.
right now, when I tell people, when people ask me how old I am, I'm like, so I'm in the middle 30s, but I'm in the end of the middle 30s.
Jaquita.
And they're like 37, and I'm like,
That's
mhm.
hilarious. Hmm.
But
Hmm.
now I'm
Hmm.
like, so I'm in the late 30s, but I'm at the beginning of the late 30s. But I think that there are so many people around me. I think that there is this notion, like this year I got a new job. I went through a healing class. I up the game on so many things regarding my health and regarding kind of like my finances, and like I've made so many things better in my life. But when I go home, it's
Mm,
got any
mm.
prospects, and it's
Yeah.
like this idea
Yeah.
about, the success of your life being circulating around, like, okay, but are you married though? And
Mm.
I think it's because, like, and it's recognizing as a single woman that this is everyone's fear, right? This is not just me, and it's not just our generation. This has
Oh,
been for
yes.
women for
This is
centuries.
historical. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. How are you gonna make it in life if you
Mm.
have not gotten a man? And
Wow.
I'm like, well, somehow me and the Lord have figured it out. Okay. And it's not my intention to stay here, but I
Right.
need y'all to stop centering my identity and the hope for my future
Mhm.
around if I walk in the door with somebody,
Yeah.
because, I have to fight that. Not necessarily when I go home, but it has now become an internal struggle because I have to maintain my sense of self in saying, no, I really am okay, not content, like, because I'm
Yeah.
still, my
Sure.
hope and my
Right.
desire is still that, but I'm
Right.
really okay. And I feel like my life is still prospering, even though that thing has not come. But it's really difficult when everyone else centers your success, your virtue, around this, you know, well, where's the man? If you so successful, if you so good at life, then you would have a man. And I'm like,
Yeah.
or I would just be in a really good space,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I will say it I'm in that second layer where they're
Uh-huh.
asking you about the children, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like, can I just be married for a minute? Like, is that okay?
No,
We
you
already
cannot.
have one, right? We have one. And but he's my bonus child. So it's like, well, are y'all gonna have kids? And it's like, can you give us a minute? Like, I mean, and I mean, but I get that. I got that today, and it's fine. And it's fine. But it is that these are the things that matter. Like, and
Mhm.
and there, I think there's some, not some. There's a lot of validity to that, because the things that people care about most are things surrounding people. You know what I mean? Like, so relationships and people matter the most to people. And
Mhm.
so it's like, okay, sometimes it translates to me as like, people, it's like the question about these kind of stages of our life. It's like, um I don't, are you going to always be alone? I don't
Mhm.
want you to be alone. I don't want you to not have anybody, or what's life
Mhm.
going to look like, and all this stuff. And it is this presumption that there's no other way to manage, um to manage, that, what do I want to say? I was going to say to manage loneliness, but just because you're alone doesn't mean you're lonely. And so I think that there's so it's an assumption that there's no other way to manage aloneness in somebody's mind. Like, the way to not be alone is to be married. The way to not be alone is to have children. And oddly enough, for some people, either one of those works. Like, it's like, okay, well, are you gonna have a kid? It's like, well, all right, don't those things, that's fine. They don't always go together. For some folks. But that it's like, don't be alone. Don't be alone.
Yeah.
Like, have people. And I get it. Like, I can understand why it's so close, why it matters so much, why there's so much concern around it, but it doesn't always feel good to be in the spotlight around that. And
Yeah.
sometimes it
No.
can be it seems a little, it can feel like people can be insensitive to that. Um,
Mhm.
when, and especially, again, going back to what you said, the present and the past, um, have been the same for so long.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think because I remember when we were in college, just thinking about timeline things, I remember thinking like, I'll be married around 26, and by 28, I'll have my first child, then
There you
another
go.
at 30 and another at 32, because like the 2-year age gap is like perfect, right? And like after hitting kind of like some of those some of those points, now it's like, I'm about to be 38, and it's like, so we're gonna get married, hopefully, sometime within the next
Right.
year. And then the 3 kids is probably out the window. All
Sure.
right, unless we pop them all out at once. Because
Or it's somebody coming with them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you come with two,
oh
I can
yeah.
have one. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? There's
Yeah.
that. You know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, it's. But I think like realizing, I think this year more than any other year, it hit that like my life is not what I expected
Mm.
from my 20s.
Mm.
Like, the life
Mm.
that I have now is
Yeah.
not the life that 25-year-old Jaquita was building in her head.
Wow.
And I think that there's a layer of grieving that has to be done about that,
That's good.
because you had these expectations. And even when good things start happening, you start building them around the expectations and the hopes that you built when you were 25, right?
Mm.
So when I
Mm.
get a new job, I'm like, got this new job. He about to come now. Here come the husband
Mm.
and the
Yeah.
kids because got the new job. Oop, I'm in this little healing class. I'm about to be healed and ready to go now because he's coming. Oop, look,
Mm.
made a new friend. It's time.
Wow.
Got my finances together. This is it. He
Yeah.
coming now. And it's like you don't even realize that you are allowing your world to revolve around
Mm.
an expired hope.
Woo, that's
You get
good.
what I'm saying?
Shoot.
And it's
Oh
it's
wow.
not that you're not
Woo.
supposed to have those things, it's that you are trying to build a life based on a 25-year-old vision when you a 38-year-old
Wow.
woman.
You got to stop there. Stop, stop, stop. Don't go no further. Pause.
Listen,
Let that sink in. You're trying to build a
listen.
life around a 28, 25-year-old vision as a 38-year-old woman. That right
Yeah,
there, boy,
girl.
if that ain't because, you know, golly, like that hits. I think that's really important to sink in because it's like, how do you unlearn how do you unlearn um how do you unlearn living in your reality today?
Mm,
Like,
mm, 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 mm. Girl, and I think the thing is that I think the bigger thing is that you don't have to unlearn the hope. You have to
right.
unlearn the lifestyle that you built around the hope. Right?
Mhm.
This lifestyle of expectation and disappointment, and I'm centering everything around this thing because I'm waiting on this thing to manifest. And you have centered your life around when this thing comes, I'll be complete because
Mm.
25-year-old me will finally have what she set
Wow.
out to get. And
Wow.
38-year-old you doesn't have a chance to prosper because you
Woo.
still have her focused on something that the Lord really needed you to give to him. Because you're holding on to it so hard and so closely and so tightly, you are centering your life around him and the around it. And the Lord is like, give it to me so you can focus
Mm.
your life on me.
Wow. Wow.
But, there are just so many things, and it's not just husband and our wife, our kids, because we do have male listeners. Shout out to our guys, okay?
Yeah, what's
We
up,
really
y'all?
enjoy y'all. Thank you. It's not just relationships. It's I was supposed to be at this financial status right now. I
Mm.
was supposed to have the house. I was
Yeah.
supposed to have, a management position, or I was supposed to have my own business, or I was supposed to have
Mm.
this thing by now. And we get so stuck on what we thought we were supposed to have that we don't step back and say, Lord, what is it that you're really doing in my life right now that I can't see because my attention is so drawn by 25-year-old me still talking in my ear?
Man. Man, this is so what it's also making me think is like, and maybe this is my own, like maybe this is the way I just deal with things. But to remember the it's hard to remember all that God did do and who you have become when you're focused on what you don't have and who you're not.
Mhm.
Like it and so when you look, it's like if you stay in your 25-year-old vision self and you're still striving for what 25-year-old, Ruth Abigail wanted, and thought she would have. And it's like, it's just taking me a little longer to get there. You missed, I mean, 25 to 38, that's 13 years, right? Like
Mhm.
13 years of growth, 13 years of becoming somebody different. And it's almost like
Mhm.
you're dishonoring the person you've become by continuing to want what that person wanted. But it's like, how do we now reevaluate? What does
Mhm.
38-year-old with Abigail want? What do I want today? What's real today? What can I celebrate today? Like, what is, and over the years, like like the vision, I may not have had that vision, but there were so many, but God had a vision for those 13 years.
Mhm.
And so what? Do we just
Ooh.
throw that out? We just throw it out
Mm.
because it wasn't mine? We dishonor God's vision?
Listen. Can I jump in? Let me in.
Jump.
Let me in. Listen, here's the thing. 25-year-old you was broken, was
Mm-hmm.
building a vision centered around trauma and unmet needs.
Mm-hmm.
25-year-old you had no clear
Mm-hmm.
perspective of this is some of these dreams and visions and hopes I have built around empty places inside of me. The things that you're
Mm-hmm.
calling a dream or a hope or a vision
Mm.
for your future is actually a structure that you built around a need that didn't get met in your childhood. And you are trying to build a life around getting that need met. So do you really want a husband or
Wow.
do you want to feel validated and accepted and loved?
Mm.
Do you really want a spouse or do you want your self-esteem back?
Mm.
Because there are things that at 25, let's all be real.
Yes.
Nobody had nothing figured out at 25, right? I didn't even
Wow.
know what I was good at 25. I knew I was good
Right.
at going to school.
Right.
What are you good at? Going to
For
school.
real.
Okay.
For
I'm good
real.
at taking classes, right?
Yeah.
And so, we built when we were thinking about when I thought about what a husband looked like when I was 25, I thought about, you know, somebody that would love me unconditionally, somebody that would cover me and protect me. Protection was huge. I think that like when I was 25, I didn't realize that like there were so many things I hadn't even dealt with yet. Like it wasn't until I was 28 that I was like, huh, my parents' divorce might have had a little impact.
Right.
Like so for me to be sitting in college at 22 being like 26 is it. I'm going to get married and have some
Right.
babies by 28 and I still haven't even really processed, what that younger life what all I brought to the table, and I think for me,
Mhm.
especially after going through the healing journey that I just went through, and again, if anybody has any questions about healing the heart or that whole curriculum, I can't answer the questions about the curriculum, but I can point you to where you can sign up, okay, to begin going through your own process. But I didn't realize that I was building a life around brokenness, that I was building a life around what I have, and so it took a while to really understand that. And now, that I've gone through the process, I'm ready to build something that's built around a hope that's founded in my faith and trust in God.
That's a so one of the things I think is really is really important, I think, to point out is that we're talking about this idea of our expectations at 25 and like, the vision we had in our life for our lives at 25 and like being 38 and it not, and kind of being stuck in that vision. But the reality is some people got all those things at 25, 26, 27. And sometimes there's
Mm.
also this reconciliation like, why not me?
You own something right there.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like it's so for our story is, yeah, like there were some things at that age that I didn't feel like was fulfilled. The things that most women in America, 25, 26, 27, 28,
Mhm.
marriage, children, pop, 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 we're doing that whole thing. By the time we get to this age, we got teenagers, and that didn't happen
Mhm.
for us, but it happened for
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. And it's not that they were more, advanced or
Right.
had their stuff more
Right,
together, yeah.
exactly. So to your
Mhm.
point, like, this idea of if I just get my stuff together, or if I just make sure that I'm out of debt, if I make sure that I get the house, if I make sure that I'm at this point in my career, if I make sure that I know how to make time, if I do all the things I'm supposed to do, I'll get what it is I want. And the reality is
Mhm.
that logic doesn't even make sense, because a lot of people who got the things that they wanted when you wanted it didn't have those things together either.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that?
Whoo, child. I think that, there's a lot of different ways that I've approached this dilemma through the years. It's, hey, it's all about God's timing.
Right, right. We
Huh?
always like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
it
yeah,
just wasn't, it's
yeah,
just not my time,
yeah.
not my time. And, oh, the work he's doing in me,
Mm.
oh, and this is my favorite, what God has for you is so big. What God is going to do in your life is going to
That's
be so amazing
hilarious.
that he had to take his time.
Had to take his
Mhm.
time with you. He's
Mhm.
taking his
Had
time.
to take his time. But I think that this is where it is really important that we not compartmentalize our lives.
Mm.
Because yes, if I am looking at this one thing, yes, it may seem like, or it may feel like people got there before me, right? It may seem like, or it may feel like, yes, like, my friend got married at 25 and I'm here in the beginning of my late 30s and it hasn't happened for me yet, right? But you have to, and I know it's hard to do, but you have to take a step back and you have to say, Lord, my life is not compartmentalized to where I have to put all my attention on this one thing. The Bible says that all things work together for the good, for the good
Yeah,
of those that love God.
yeah.
And you have to remind yourself that there are some things in my life that God has given me a head start in that is going to work for the good of my whole
That's
life
good. That's
and
really
not
good.
just be looking for the good of this one thing.
That's
And
really
that goes
good.
back to the conversation we were having earlier, where you have, and this is, I think the real thing to note is, did you make, did you make marriage, children, whatever, did you make that your answer to whatever need or whatever question you had about yourself growing up?
Mm.
Did you make that an answer? And the reality of it is that a lot of us have to dismantle some of the things that we made into idols,
That's really, yeah,
because the
absolutely.
Lord is not going to have anybody standing in his
That's
place
absolutely right.
in any area of your life where you have made something else the answer, the solution, the outcome.
Yeah,
Anything in your life that you have made into that, the Lord's going to deal with you about that.
yeah.
And you are going to have to tear that, you're going to have to tear that idol down. In the Old Testament, anytime the kings, I think Gideon did it. I think a bunch of the kings, when they said that this was a king who, served the Lord, the first thing they did was they went in the city. They went to the high places in the city, tore down all the idols, tore down all the false gods, tore down all the things that people were worshiping that were not God. And you are going to have to do that with your life. You
Mm.
are going to have to, you are now at a place where the Lord is saying, I have given you rule and reign over these areas of your life. I've made you a king. I've made you a queen. I've given you position and authority to go through your life and tear
Mm.
down the idols,
Mm.
tear down the high places, because that's what the issue is that it is really easy to make a good thing, right, a good thing. A wife, a husband, a marriage, a child. These are all really, really good things. But it is so easy to justify
That's right.
making those things your hope, your full hope, making those things your God, and making those things idols. And yeah, I get it, because I feel like I can hear the voices of the singles around me. Because I too am with you. I get it. People be saying stuff like this and they get on your nerves. And
Right,
I
right,
understand.
right, right, right.
I understand. Just like they say, just right when you're not looking no
Right,
more, that's when they
exactly.
coming. See, because you got to be busy in the field like Ruth. And once you get out there in that field like Ruth and get to working, all right, that's when it's coming. But honestly, you know, until you get to a point where my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. Like until you get to a point where you have backed away from the thing,
Yeah.
you've backed away from the thing and not made it your whole identity and your whole pursuit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think here's the other thing. Here's the other piece I'm going to give it to you, because I think, when we put it in the framework of God is a jealous God and he'll have no other gods before him, absolutely true. But what else is absolutely true is that God loves you and God sees the whole picture of who
Mhm.
you are. One thing that I feel like I've been learning coming into these, middle adult years, and I think that even in reflecting over this past year and kind of really beginning to tear down some of the structures that I had built that supported 25-year-old Jaquita, that supported, her idealism and all of the things that she romanticized. Because at 25, marriage was not a hard thing. Are you serious? Marriage was a beautiful pursuit of
Right,
joy and love and
right,
happiness. And
right.
why would anyone not want every day to wake up with the person you fell in love with? Like there was no realness to what I was
Mm,
what I was pursuing after. But the thing I think that I've gotten the most from this year, as I'm like fully settled into these, middle adult years, is that there is a picture for my life that God always had,
mm,
right? When I surrendered the plans that I made and started saying, okay, Lord, what are the plans that you made for me? Because I want to dwell in the vision of God for my life.
mm,
And it got really scary,
mm.
especially towards this last quarter.
Yeah.
This last quarter, y'all, she hit hard. Okay. It got really scary because I felt like I didn't know myself.
Mm,
I felt like I got a new job, and although I like what I do, it's not what I was doing,
mhm,
and it's not what I've been telling people I'm passionate about
mm.
for like the last, 10, 12 years I've
Yeah.
been in higher education. It's completely different. It's a completely different flow. It's a completely different outlook. It's a completely different me. And I'm having to deal with the fact that maybe I'm not that I am a different person, but maybe some of the pieces of me that I was building up, I built around I built around temporary structures. And now God is bringing me to a place of permanence,
Mm,
of because you're looking through the eyes. I think the Bible says that you would have the eyes of understanding, because you're looking now through the eyes of understanding, and you are so aligned with the purpose and plan of God that you are seeing yourself. When you really begin to see yourself the way that God sees you, and you start building a life that's built around the way that God sees you, and not built off of
mm.
the false ways that you saw yourself before,
Yeah.
it is like a real season of reconstruction. And
Wow.
that thing is scary.
Yeah.
Especially, I was in class the other day, and I was telling my classmates, I was like, I really thought all this rediscovering stuff happened in your 20s and you
Mhm.
did that one good time. And it's like, I know myself now.
Yeah.
But here I am, almost 38, and I'm like, I am rediscovering.
Yeah.
I'm rediscovering Jaquita. And
Yeah.
that is not something I put on my 2024 bingo card. Rediscovery. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll say this one thing, then I'm gonna pass the ball. When you are rediscovering yourself, right? And it for me it's rediscovery, but for God it's uncovering.
Mm.
Because God is like, I already knew all this. I'm just glad you're finally seeing
Right. Right.
who I really made you to be,
Right.
right? But to be uncovering and walking in the newness of everything that God is doing, but to still balance that out with, okay, but I do still have these hopes
Mm.
and these desires, but I'm a new person. And
Mm.
God, but it also brings you to the reality of, Lord, what would have happened if I had gotten it before I did the change? Like
Mm.
before I really settled into the plan of God for my life.
Yeah.
You know, before I really settled into believing in who God says that I am. You know, and not that I didn't before, but it's different, y'all. And middle adults, y'all understand me. Y'all know. Y'all know. You know, young adults, y'all didn't know y'all was gonna have to go through a double
Right. Right.
identity
Right.
phase.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And I'm sure there might be another one.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, apparently the 60s is a time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, but I just wanted to put that out there for anybody who feels like, what is this new season of discovery? It is God bringing you into his original intention.
Yeah. And that's really good. I think that as you were talking, a couple things came to mind. One of them is, we go through this like you were kind of saying earlier, you know, it's like we do these the right things, thinking when I do the right things, then I'll get the thing I want.
Mhm.
And that perspective still keeps you stuck in that kind of uh very compartmentalized vision, right?
Mhm.
And the old vision. But when we do the right things for the sake of doing the right things, like you do the things that are making you better, you grow for the sake of growing, like not for the sake of getting, like but just grow for the
Mm.
sake of growing. And one of the things that I I've said this before in other episodes. There's a guy named Myron Golden. He's a business leader, pastor, speaker, author, all that. And he has this concept, he has coined this concept, be, do, have. And the idea is we want these things. We want to have these things, but you can't
Mhm.
have certain things unless you do certain things. But you can't do
Mhm.
certain things unless you become a person who does those things. So
Mhm.
we look at these people who have all these things. Have Name the thing. Let's say they have this huge house. They have the house. They have their dream home. Um,
Mhm.
well, in order to get that, you would have to do some things to get that. There's some things that you have to do, but there's a way you have to become. People who have their dream home can't be lazy. It's not an option, right?
Mhm.
Laziness isn't an option. Distracted, right? You're not gonna people who have that aren't distracted people. Um, you aren't wishy-washy, right? There are things that you have to be, there are ways you have to be in order to do the things to get those things and to keep them,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
so I I think that where we the problem is we focus so much on getting the thing we want
Mhm.
that we lose sight of who we have to become. And the reality is when you focus on the becoming, the things become a lot less important because you understand the beauty in just the becoming. And those things come. Like the things you want show up. But it's not about that, right? It's about the becoming phase. And so I think the question that I have that I kind of and I'm the wondering that's in my mind is, who are you trying to become? Are you trying to become the person that you are you trying to become more of who you actually are, or are you trying to recreate the 25-year-old? You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Are are you trying to
Okay,
get
bangers. Okay,
are you
bangers.
trying to are you trying to recreate that 25-year-old to make sure that she or he gets what she wants?
Yeah,
Or are you living in the becoming that you've already become,
yeah,
right? I've become
yeah.
this person, but if I continue to allow myself and to allow these seasons, and again, we'll go back to this holiday season, right? Allow these seasons and these moments and this going home kind of, whether you're literally going home or just home, allowing us to put it in the mind frame of what I don't have, where I'm not, what
Mhm.
what I wish would have happened. And because when we go home, when I go home and I'm around my siblings, I revert back to the 15, 16, 17-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like we get there, right? And or when I'm around my parents, I don't want to do anything. Like I'm looking for my mom, where's dinner? Or mom, what is it?
Hey, where the breakfast at?
Like, come
Like,
on, man. Like, I'm not trying to really be an adult around my parents. Like, that's not how I want to be. So you kind of revert back, right? You eat way more than you should. You know this, right? You're way lazier than you normally would be.
oh,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
But that's it.
Absolutely.
That's how we are, right? You kind of, and so it's like your whole mental state just kind of goes back into that mode, which could be really cool, but also it can put you back in that mind frame of I I ain't got it. I'm not
Mhm.
where I want to be, right? And it puts you in that mind frame of like, hey, this is what I wish where I wish I was. I'm coming home
Mhm.
again by myself,
Ooh.
right? Like
Mhm.
that's tough. That's tough. And but the reality is every year that you came home by yourself was still a year that you became somebody different.
That's good.
You're not the same. But you will
Yeah.
never see that if you keep harping on, but I keep showing up with the same story that other
Yeah.
people care about. Um, and I think the just owning that first of all, right, is I think really important. And just okay, as we are going to this holiday season, as we're going home, making plans to go home, spending time around family. And I can't get over the way you put it, Quita, is the vision for your life the same as it, like, are you still trying to create the vision of the 25? For us it's the 25-year-old. For some people maybe the
Mhm.
18-year-old. For some people
Mhm.
maybe 27. For some people maybe 30. Are you trying to recreate that? Is that what you're going, and you can't wait to go home and tell them what you wanted to tell them at 25?
Lord. And I think that we have to be so like you gotta get to the space where you are vulnerable enough to deal with what all have you attached to the hope. Like you have attached, like, Imma show them I'm bringing me somebody home.
Right.
Everybody shut your trap, here he
Right.
is. You know? Like, are like the expectations are like, the embarrassment are, like there are things even when the thing comes, it's not just a person. For some people, it's a thing. You know, that thing, if you have not dealt with you, when that thing comes, it's not going to fill that void.
No, it's not.
If you have not really dealt with you,
Yep.
it's going to come and you're going to realize that the blessing actually came with a lot of work. Israelites praying 400 years to be delivered. And then you get out and you like,
Right.
it was better for us in Egypt. You don't want to get to the point to where when God finally does bring that thing, that person, that opportunity into your life, that you have put so much expectation on it that you're not able to live in the moment and
Yeah.
enjoy the fruit of it.
That's right.
And
Mm,
I think that if you are not, listen to me, young adult, middle adult, wherever you at, if you are not dealing with the honesty of what it is that you feel like your life has, areas of your life that you feel have been unfair, areas of your life where you feel like you didn't get what you needed, areas of your life where you have felt angry or sad or grieving, or you felt like, you weren't given everything that you were supposed to have in that moment. If you don't go back to those moments and really, that one episode we talked about how the stones that we leave in our soul become threats to the promise. If you don't go and really start unearthing some of this stuff, when the seed comes, it's not going to be able to take root.
mhm.
You're going to get the man, and you're not going to
That's
be
right.
able to build a rooted, grounded relationship with him because of all of the things that are undealt with.
That's it.
That's what a stone is. It's the things that you refuse to deal with. And so they sit in your soul, and you expect things to grow around it. They
Ooh,
will prevent things from
from
taking
growing.
root in your
That's
life.
correct.
And so the promises, and I think that this is something that I really, really, really had to sit down and settle with, is that if the Lord sent the promise, have you unearthed the things in your soul that would prevent that thing from really growing?
Yeah.
Because the Lord can present you with a thing, but the Lord, there's a song that I just keep having on repeat, and it's basically saying that, like, if it's not, God's not finished until it's good. God's not going to bring something in your life that is not good. The Bible says that if you ask for a fish, will he give you a serpent?
Right.
No. He's not. You're asking for something that you are not going to be able to maintain. And if you
Mm,
ask God for a tree, for something rooted, grounded, that will produce fruit for generations and generations to come, if you're asking him for a tree and he brings you the tree and it can't take root, it's not going to be good for you.
yeah. That's right.
The hurt of losing the promise will be greater than never having it.
Yes.
And what I think, something that I have learned, is that I am not the no limit soldier. I cannot do not call me Sister Soldier. That is not me. I can't I don't know what I can take or not take.
Yeah.
I don't know what I can handle or not handle. But I trust that God knows.
That's right.
And if it hasn't come into my life yet, it wasn't going to be good.